everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about something maybe a bit controversial, maybe not. I'm going to be talking about menstruation and periods in literature. I noticed there's a bit of a lack, well not a bit of a lack, there is a humongous lack of representation of menstruation and periods in literature. And considering this happens to, quite a big percentage of people in the world, it's just a bit shocking really, a bit worrying. So why do I think this happens? I think this happens because it just represents real life. It represents the society we live in that talking about menstruation and periods is quite taboo. It has a lot of stigma attached to it. So women don't really talk about menstruation publicly that much. I think that's changing due to social media. People feel, perhaps more confident in talking about it because they see influencers talking about it. But I think we are taught that menstruation is something to be quite secretive about. For example, how many of us just leave period products around the house? Now I don't mean, that sounds weird, I mean stuff that hasn't been used, like in the bathroom. I remember watching this episode of Big Brother and this man got very angry that a girl had left just some tampons, just a box of tampons in the bathroom out in view. And I'm just thinking, I was young at that age and I thought, I don't know what I thought, but I didn't really think that was that controversial. But now I think that's terrible because there's the stigma attached and I didn't realise there was stigma. Even in period product adverts I should say, really irritate me. Because so often it's advertised to us that, oh yes, this pad is so discreet, it fits just in your pocket, or when it's put on you can't even see it. And also they use blue blood. They use blue blood because red blood is just really gross, apparently, so, Another thing that really annoys me as well, on social media, I've seen a few times, this was a few years ago now, that a girl was on her period and she was going swimming and there was a picture of her and her friends and you could see like, what do you call it, that little wiry, the ropey stuff, well I'm terrible with words, coming out where her pants bit is, and there was uproar. And I just think, why? Why? It's just such a natural thing. It's like going for a poo or a wee or something. It's just something that you do. Well, most people do, And here's another thing. I feel very awkward saying the word menstruation and period right now because usually I don't call it that at all. I call it lady things because I don't want to say period. And there was this interesting study done in 2015. I'll link it down below. And they found, I don't know who they are, but they found that there are 5,000 euphemisms for the word period. 5,000. That just shows that people just don't want to talk about it. They just want to use a different word for it because they feel awkward talking about it. And in some countries, in some cultures, they have it really bad. So for some people, they have menstrual huts. So these women will go and stay in these huts if they're menstruating because they're not allowed to touch anything because they're seen as impure. And also in some cultures, after a woman has had her period, she would need to have a ritual bath to clean herself, to cleanse herself before she sleeps with a man. And it's not unclean, folks. Something I wanted to find out is where this stigma comes from. Now, from the offset I was thinking it's because it's a woman thing and, traditionally in a lot of cultures women are not very equal to men, sadly. But actually scholars disagree a lot on where it comes from. They think it's kind of fragmented and that it comes from lots of different places depending on the cultures. But one man, Chris Knight, his name is, he believes that this taboo, this menstrual taboo came from women when women were early humans, and they basically made up this taboo because they didn't want to be touched, apparently. I was trying to read through this source and I was just so heckin' confused. I'll leave it down below because I just don't understand the logic to it. But, no one really knows basically where the taboo comes from. So let's focus a little bit more about periods in literature. The first thing I came across when I was searching into this is that a lot of Anne Frank's diary is censored. It looks like it doesn't tend to be anymore, but for most of its existence it has been censored. I didn't know that Anne Frank talked about her genitalia a lot in her diary. She seemed to joke about it quite a lot. But another thing she talked about was her period. And this was censored. This was censored by her dad, Otto Frank, when he went to go and publish it. The thing is that annoys me about this. Obviously, why should it be censored in the first place? Again, because of the stigma. But also, today, right now, if you go, well, hopefully, the thing is with this source, it might change. On Anne Frank's house website, so the Anne Frank house is in Amsterdam, where they stayed in the annex, the Frank family. On their website, they're talking about the differences between the censored diary and the uncensored diary. And they have lots of different subtitles based on different parts that are censored. One subheading is less explicit about sexuality. And this is where it talks about the omission of menstruation. And I was just thinking, what's that got to do with sexuality? I just don't understand. So that kind of made me a bit angry. It's nothing to do with sexuality. So why is it under that bracket? I mean, it's the complete... I know it's just probably a little mistake, but that is the complete wrong use of the word sexuality. And it bothers me. And another thing. I know I've been talking about the Poisonwood Bible a lot. Where is it? It's there. Can't be bothered to get out. This is about this American family, this missionary family that go from Georgia in the US to the Congo in Africa. Now that is a massive change. They're used to having quite a privileged life, and now they're going to somewhere where they don't have all these luxuries. And I'm thinking, this has 5 women in it, and 4 of them probably have a period. But it's only mentioned once, their period, and not how they deal with it at all. And I'm just thinking, you don't have access to these products, so what are you doing about it? It's not mentioned at all. The thing that also bothers me is this is a first person account. It's written sort of in diaries, so why are they not talking about it in their diaries if they know that no one else is going to read them? So King's Album, mate, why didn't you talk about that? Is it because of the stigma? Probably yes. And it's just, it happens in so many different books that I'm reading, some fiction books. I'm thinking, why is this not mentioned? And I think about the women in situations where they're not going to have access to products. What are they doing about it? Do they not have their period anymore because they're stressed? What is it? For example, in the Deathly Hallows book, Hermione is out in the woods for, some weeks, and I'm thinking, what's she doing about it? It's just not talked about. And you could say a counter-argument is that a lot of authors don't say everything that happens in their books. For example, you don't say, Lou was on the sofa, then he got up from the sofa and went and got a drink. That's very boring. But the thing is, menstruation is just something that I think is missed out to such an extent that I don't really understand how parts of the plot can exist, or how some of the characters get along with their daily lives, because it's just not mentioned. So there we go. Let me know what you think about this. Do you get annoyed by it? Because I heckin' do. I heckin' do. I'll leave some sources in the details of this video. Not some like tomato ketchup sources, but evidence. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!